Hey guys, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and everything in between. Hope you're all doing wonderful today, and let's get right into today's Reddit posts. Entitled people in a museum. So I worked in a train museum for the last 3 summers. I've built up quite a few stories, and so I thought, where better to tell the stories than here? For reference, my age range for these stories is 15 to 18. So for some info, we have 3 buildings. The first 2 are original. The main building is the station house, the second is the freight shed, and the third building is a recreation of the roundhouse, but has an original 1881 second-class train car in it. The first building has 2 floors. The freight shed has 2, but only one is for tourists. The bottom floor is the vault and is employees only, as it contains books that are actively falling apart and only touched to be transcribed. The third has 1 floor. So anyways, story number 1 is entitled Mom Who Thinks Rules Only Apply to Children. She came in with her cute little boy, who was practically jumping with joy. I'd say he was around 5 years old. They went into the display room, which has models of our old trains, which are luckily behind glass. They went into what we call the station master room. It has typewriters, telegraphs, phones, stamps, etc. Within minutes, I hear the clicking of typewriter keys, and a kid voice shout, "Mummy, the signs say no touching." And a grown woman replied, "That's only for kids." I jump up and run in and immediately say, "Ma'am, those signs are for everyone. The typewriters are older than you, and if you break one, it'd be very expensive to break, so please don't touch." She huffed and started for the second floor. My coworker was manning the front desk, so I followed them upstairs, telling them if they had any questions, I would happily answer them. Upstairs, she proceeded to attempt to grab a bell, pick up the taxidermy seagull, attempted to put on a conductor's hat. At all points, I reminded her of the rule. She left without a tour of the other 2 buildings, and then left a 2-star review calling me pushy and rude. Story number 2 is entitled Man Thinks He Knows Art. This next story takes place during a hot summer. We have many oil paintings in the station, and sometimes during the summer they can transfer to the vault, as the artists used loose leaf to paint them, and during the summer they might melt or fall apart. So we had some upstairs which I was regularly monitoring, and if they seemed to be sweating or warm to the touch, they came off the wall into the vault. Entitled Man enters with his family, his wife and 2 teen girls. They asked my coworker for directions to the historical site before asking me for a tour. I happily agreed, and everything was fine until the station master room, where he immediately started turning the handle on the phone roughly. "Sir, please do not touch the artifacts," I said kindly. He put it down and we headed upstairs. Upstairs, he looked at one of our oil paintings, put his finger on it and started to drag. I yelled, "Sir, remove your hand at once, that is a priceless oil painting." He removed his finger, the painting was luckily fine, and looked at me. "Little girl, I'm an artist, I know what I'm doing." I smiled and replied, "And I'm a museum technician, I know what I'm doing. So please do not touch the paintings or you'll be forced to leave. And should there be any damage, we will have to call the police." He huffed and was okay in the main building. In the second building, he asked if he could buy one of the weights off our old bag-weighing machinery. When I said no, he stormed out and went to the car. His wife gave me $10 as an apology and left with their girls. They did not make it to the third building. Story number 3. No, I will not let your toddler eat lead paint chips. We had what I thought was a lovely family. A mom, dad, and 3 kids, a teen, 5-year-old, and a toddler. They went through the first and second buildings just fine. Everything was happy-go-lucky. Then we get to the third building, this large 1881 train car. This car is in such good shape that we can take people inside, and so I did. We went inside, I showed them the seat changing. Their toddler was sitting happily in one of the seats. Then I noticed him picking paint. I run over and pull his hands away, taking the paint away. He started crying. "Oh, it's fine, he just likes to eat paint," Mom said, laughing. I stared at her for a second, horrified. "Ma'am, well, we have repainted this car. We just painted over dangerous layers of lead paint, as they were unsafe to remove. It's fine to be in this car, but it's not safe to eat the paint chips," I explained. She scoffed. "No one uses lead paint anymore." Again, I looked at her, dumbfounded. "Yes, ma'am, I know, but this car is from 1881. Was repainted many times until it stopped activity in 1965. There are layers of lead paint, and even if they were peeled off, it's soaked into the wood. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave the car," I told her. She huffed, picked up her toddler, and left the building entirely. The father gave me an apology and left. Now my tour included the phrase, "Don't eat the paint chips," when we were in the car. I live here now. So back in February, there was a man that looked homeless walking up and down my street. My partner and I were outside working in the yard, so we paid a little attention but didn't think anything of it. The next day, he showed back up, walked up my driveway, and camped on my porch. When we asked what he was doing, he said he was going to, quote, "fix this place up real nice, get himself a dog and some flowers in the front." We asked him to leave, which he answered, "No, I live here now. I have the papers giving me permission to live here." He then handed us a change of address form from the State Housing Authority, where he had changed his mailing address to mine. This was not permission to live at my home, but letting them know to send his mail there. I should point out at this point, I don't know this guy. I have never met this guy. Neither has my partner. We asked him to leave again, or we would call the cops after getting a picture of the form. I spent all day on the phone with the state housing agency trying to figure out what the hell, but they had no answers. A week goes by and we don't hear from the man. Then I walk out to check my mail and he's waiting at the mailbox. He opens it every few minutes, but the mail hasn't come yet. He tells me to leave him alone. This doesn't concern me. He doesn't want to talk to me. He is just waiting for his check and then he is going to go home, pointing to my house. I remind him he doesn't live there and start dialing the cops. He takes off, swearing at me the whole way. The cops ask if he is on the property currently. When I say no, they say call back when he is and they will come out. I also put a hold on my mail that day because I don't know if he was stealing it. A few weeks go by and strange things are happening around the outside of my house. My trash cans get taken to the street and brought back. My weeds are pulled. My lawn furniture is rearranged, but I don't see the guy again. The cops offer to add more patrols, but unless they catch him on the property, they won't do anything. They start to act like I am crazy because I'm calling every day. At one point, the officer that came out after I found threatening notes taped to the front door asked me if I can prove this person doesn't live there because, quote, "this sounds like a domestic dispute. We don't handle those." I start to feel like I'm going crazy. Finally, after about a month of this, my husband and I come home from a late dinner out with friends. We walk into the house and smell shampoo. Then we hear the shower. Then we hear the sounds of someone talking. We turn around and leave, get in the car, park it at the end of the street to call the cops, and watch the front door. The cops come. They have megaphones and keep telling him to come out of the house with his hands up. No response, so they charge the front door and drag him out of the shower. There is a struggle and he starts to fight them. He can't believe he is being treated this way in his own home. How dare they? We can hear him yelling from our vantage point at the end of the street. He won't come willingly, so the cops tase him in my front hallway. He is finally compliant at that point. They grab my husband's shoes from next to the door and tell him to put them on. They march him out to the waiting police car. After filling out all the reports, we are allowed to go back in the house. He had smashed out all our windows, so there was glass everywhere. He ate the leftover chicken parm in the fridge. In my bedroom, my bed is messed up. He had slept in my bed. My clothing is all over the floor because he emptied my dresser to put his things in. We had just put our dog down a few months before and the urn was on the table. He broke it open and spread the ashes all over my bedroom and bathroom, which might be why he was taking a shower. He used an entire bottle of $90 skin serum and almost a whole bottle of shampoo. But he folded all my towels he had taken into the bathroom with him nicely and hung them on the rack. Thank God he didn't hurt my cats. He is currently in jail on 3 charges: breaking and entering, assaulting an officer when he fought the cops, and destruction of property. His trial is next week. I have been in touch with the DEA and the arresting officer, both of whom have spoken with him. He is pissed he is in jail and keeps telling them to let him out because no one is watching his house and he doesn't want it to get broken into. I am still getting his mail. An OP also says here in the comments, so he is mentally ill. The cops and DA know him well, but they both agree he isn't mentally ill enough to try to think he could just move into our house. So no one really knows what the hell he was trying to pull. And they also said this, If you find it more entertaining, since the guy changed his address to mine and told the cops my address was his, when he was arrested, they sent the court date reminder about his court date for breaking into my house to my effing house. I almost lost my shit. The DA is collecting his mail to build the case around this being intentional, instead of this all being an accident like his lawyer is claiming. We don't have a lawyer yet, but I am starting to think we need one from this thread. We do have a temporary restraining order. Have to go back to court to make it permanent. NOP says in another comment, I have called every single agency that has sent him mail to let them know he doesn't live at my house. I filed a mail fraud claim with the post office. We got a TPO. We filed police reports and are pressing charges. So many of the responses though when I call these organizations sending him mail is this weird messed up apathy and a quote, well, how do we know he doesn't live there? Can you prove he doesn't? No, I can't prove he doesn't live here. But I can prove I do. Even worse, his attorney is trying to convince the judge he just made a mistake and wandered into the wrong house. This judge is notoriously lenient, so the DA is afraid the dude will get off. They are taking all the mail to establish to the judge that this was premeditated and not a one-time accident, so unfortunately I cannot return the mail to sender since they are taking it all. He did plead guilty to the charges, so hopefully that helps him get a little time. He is looking at 1 to 10 years depending on how it all works out, and if the judge doesn't give him time served. And so there you go. I find it pretty hard to imagine that he wouldn't get some kind of jail time over this. And it's pretty clear that this guy was obviously insane, but that he was also trying to establish himself as a squatter in this house. At least that's what it seems like, and that if he got something in writing, like a change of address, it would make it seem more legitimate. Anyway friends, thank you for watching, I appreciate it. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. So have an awesome day, take care, and I'll see you next time.